Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about selfies. Selfies are the most modern way we have of people showing images of themselves. But we've been showing images of ourselves for thousands of years. So in our talk, we're going to look at the relationship between what we're doing now and what we have done previously. Say, for example, you don't know what a selfie is. You don't have a tween with an Instagram account. I'll tell you, a selfie is an instant self-portrait where you take from a mobile device, you outstretch your arm, and you snap it. It's all you. There's no professional photographer, there's no editor, there's no curator, and then you instantly upload it for the internet for global consumption. So your private life is exposed for everyone to see. Being a selfie maker, you're both the creator and the subject. And you choreograph how you're going to look in a selfie. You decide your body language, your proximity to the camera, where you're going to look, what you're wearing, your milieu, and very importantly, your facial expression. The medium itself has a very specific aesthetic. First of all, most selfies have a square format. Usually they're viewed on an intimate scale, maybe on your cell phone or mobile device. They have a very specific photographic distortion, which usually is from the arm's length of the proximity of the camera lens. So this can make your face distorted or maybe part of the background distorted. And then also because of the arm's length proximity, the picture itself has a very shallow, collapsed sense of space. Many selfies, maybe it's because of expertise or not, have a blur within the image of itself. And finally, a lot of the selfies have this almost soft, unsaturated sepia tone that have an almost nostalgic quality to them. Many people dismiss selfies as being narcissistic, and frankly, many of them are. And most people can't help looking at themselves. I mean, if you walk past a mirror, almost everyone takes a look to see how things are going on. But let's think about selfies in relationship to art history. Are they traditional or are they revolutionary? Traditionally, when people had their portraits painted, they were done by an artist and they were seen through the artist's eyes. Here we have Louis XIV as the Sun King. The artist has expertly expressed his view of the world of how he wanted to express himself. Sometimes, even if you are the most powerful person in the world and you hire the greatest artist, the portraits weren't particularly always flattering. But now we have gotten rid of the artist as the conduit, as the intermediary, and everyone is an artist. So they can decide how they want to brand themselves. And with every image, they can change their brand, their image to the world, advertising themselves to the world. So yourself is a very fluid concept that is constantly being able to be moved and developed, unlike the portrait of Louis XIV, which we now know hundreds of years later what his message was. Let's think about self-portraits. Traditionally, self-portraits, we think of Dürer here as a self-constructed artifice. He took ideas of what he wanted, his beliefs and his ideas, and put them in a painting. Here we have Dürer equating his artistic genius to that of almost a Christ-like creator. And then we have the contemporary selfie showing us his superiority with his all-knowing facial expression. So let's think about selfies that fit into other traditional categories. Let's consider body language. Here we have a senator, this Roman senator, with his very frontal facial expression, his unflinching expression, looking straight at the camera. And today, when people want to express power in their image, they use the exact same body language. Let's think about, we have a Hellenistic Aphrodite. Her head is tilted in coy flirtation as she's flirting with the satyr next to her. And over and over and over in contemporary selfies, we have the same exact body language. Many times, here we have Hercules. His head is bowed down, his arms are away from his body so that we can look at his toned, muscular, powerful torso, because this is what defines him as who he is, as his character. And again and again in contemporary selfies, we have the same idea. Even in this contemporary work, The subject's head is even distorted by the camera lens, its back, and it blurred because his focus is his chiseled physique. So his physicality becomes the expression of who he is. Here we have Rembrandt as a young artist. His eyes are sunken and dark and deep and moody. He's got his pursed lips, his hair with its golden highlighted coifs. And we have this contemporary selfie attempting to express the same exact poetic angst and anguish of youth and talent. Not only can we refer to art history for references, but also to Hollywood. So here we have Mary Pickford as a certain type of the ingenue with her locks, her doe eyes, her can-do spirit, and we have the contemporary selfie modeling herself almost exactly with that same idea. Not only selfies about modeling yourself, but also showing people who you are, where you've been. And he wants, no matter who you are, they want you to know where they've been, and they want you to maybe be jealous. So not only look where I am, but look what I have. Do you value what I have? Do you judge me by what I have? Let me show you what I have. Look who I'm with. No matter who you are, no matter how powerful you are, you still want to legitimize your time by showing that you're with someone who's of import. We live in a world where we're constantly being documented and documenting. And because of this, we're very self-conscious of the photographic process. So as a response, when we're taking selfies, a lot of people make a very exaggerated facial expression, freeze it, and then take the picture. Because they want to make sure that you know that they're choreographing that instantaneous expression. Because certainly they don't want to be caught in a photograph where they're actually instantaneous, unflattering, and real. Exposure to Hollywood has showed us how to pose for pictures, how to smile for pictures, but now this awareness of constant documentation has made a very new expression that is really very specific to selfies, and it's been dubbed the duck face. Selfies are part of the whole history about looking and being looked at. Every selfie is an act of putting yourself on display. Every selfie is an act of self-voyeurism. So let's consider the gaze in some of these pictures. Here we have Manet's Olympia. She is challenging us as we look at her nudity. She's looking at us, looking at her. And we have this contemporary selfie taking the very same pose, using the same eye contact. Everything is very deliberate and purposeful. Another idea of looking at the gaze is when a subject is looking away. Then they're part of the landscape, part of a still life, an object to be admired without letting the viewer know that they're being looked at. So ultimately, who is the visual consumer of the selfie? And how do we understand images when they're taken out of their content and context? Maybe one person will read this in one way and another person in another way. So what we do is we place our individual perceptions, our individual experiences and perspectives on the image. And that creates a multitude of readings, a multitude of stories. Because ultimately, selfies are a poignant example of the fact that people crave to be recognized, they crave to be remembered, validated, and this is an attempt to do these things. With this medium, you can look at so many images at one time. They can be compared, contrasted, dismissed, juxtaposed. And every subject creator is always searching for originality when they're making their images. We have to think, when we're looking at these pieces, when you're looking at a selfie or you're taking a selfie, you have to think, how do I fit into the historical context? Thank you.